equation of lines. Graph a linear equation. So we can graph an equation by identifying the slope and the y-intercept. So how we do this, we're going to start at the y-intercept, and then we're going to use the slope for the changing to the next point. Now remember, slope is rise over run. So let's look at some examples. Example 1. Graph y equals 9 over 5 x plus 32. So remember, our equation equals mx plus b. And remember, m is rise over run. So for this one, we don't really have a graph because it's kind of a big number. We have this plus 32. That's our intercept, right? Our y-intercept. So we're going to graph this. We're going to graph it kind of big. So let's go ahead and think. This is 10. This is 20. This is 30. This is 40. And this is 50. Then for the x, let's go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Right, and this would be -5, -10, -15, -20, and then this could be -10, -20, -30, and so forth. So kind of notice that we just made our own. It's kind of just right, like 2 line. So we just made our own here. And we kind of made it to a different kind of scale, right? On our y-axis, we went in increments of 10, from 10, 20, 30, and so forth. And this is because this is this large number, 32. Then on our x-axis, right, we have in increments of 5. So we just broke it down a little differently than we could have. So same concept, right? But now let's go ahead and start with our b, which is our y-intercept. So this is 32. So that means this line is going to cross at 32. So let's go ahead and just say 32 is right there. This is our b, because it passes through the b-intercept, b, which is our y-intercept at 32. Then we're going to use the slope, which is 9 over 5, to find the next point. So this is positive, so it means we're going to have a positive slope. So we have to go rise of 9. Well, 32 plus 9 would be 41, so we're really close to right here. So we're going to go somewhere over here, but then we need to go over 5, which will be then right there. So those are 2 points, and then we can go ahead and just draw a line. Or you can keep going. We can do another rise over run. Now if we were to go down, we're going to have to go down 9. So 32 minus 9 is 23. So somewhere right here. And then we need to go over 5, because we need to have a positive slope. So if we go negative, that means we have a positive slope still. Right, negative over negative on a fraction would be positive. So that's how we do that. And then we can go ahead and just draw this line. So this is equal to y equals 9 over 5 x plus 32. Now, you actually might recognize this equation because this is when we convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So we can go from degrees of Celsius to Fahrenheit. So when we have any value for x, which is on our right, our x-axis, this is what it equals on our y-axis, right, when we get to that point. So this is kind of an illustration to show how our like Celsius, and then we have Fahrenheit for degrees. And this is just to show degrees. This is Fahrenheit, Celsius. So if we plug in our x value, which is our Celsius, like say 10 degrees Celsius, what does that equal in Fahrenheit? Well, that's how we can kind of apply kind of like this line, this graph, to show this by the graph, rather than having to plug in values all the time. So we can see what things are. So like when, say, Celsius is 0 degrees, what does that equal to Fahrenheit? Well, that's 32 degrees. That's our freezing point, right? This is our freezing point for both Celsius and Fahrenheit. So when Celsius is equal to 0, or x is 0, y is equal to 32. Now let's go ahead and look at another example. Example 2. Graph 3x minus 2y equals 2. So notice that when we graph equations, we need to have it in the form of y equals mx plus b. So that means our y value is on the left, and then we have everything else on the right. So when we look at this equation that we're given, we know it's on the right order, so we need to do some manipulation to make it right. So we have 3x minus 2y equals 2. Well, let's keep y here, but let's move x. So in order to do that, we'll just go ahead and subtract 3x to both sides. Now 3x minus 3x, that's 0. Then we're left with minus 2y equals 2 minus 3x. But let's go ahead and let's switch the order. So let's go minus 2y equals negative 3x plus 2. So it's back in that kind of order. So this is the same thing, but we're just going to switch. Now we need to get y by itself. That means we need to go ahead and divide by negative 2 to each term. Because whatever we do to one side, we do to the other, and we have to do to every term. So now we're just negative 2 divided by negative 2 is just 1. So now we're left with y equals negative 3 over negative 2. So that's just positive 3 over 2x. 2 over negative 2 is just negative 1. Because we have that negative sign. So 2 over 2 is just 1, and we keep the negative sign. So this is actually our equation that we can work with now. So, right, we have y equals mx plus b. So let's go ahead and start, right, with our b here. So b is equal to negative 1. So we start at the origin, we just go down 1. And that's where it crosses. It's when the y is equal to negative 1. That's where it passes. So that's our first dot we can do. Then we need to look at 3 over 2 as our slope to find the other points. So 3 over 2 is rise over run. So we need to go up 3. 1, 2, 3. And over 2, because that's our run. So we have it there. Then we need to go down 3, because that's our rise, over 2. Notice that we went negative on both, so that means it's positive. Right, but if you went from here to here, this is a positive. So up 3 over 2. Right, like this is our rise over run. But we just needed to go negative in order to get to this point on both ends, which still gives us a positive slope because this is all, like right here, this is positive slope. Because it's going from bottom to up as we go left to right. So that means we have a positive slope here. And we've graphed our line.